Hello, and what's going on, dude? It's Ariel Vegas, founder of Your Alpha Dude, and welcome to the second video in the three-part series. First, I want to thank everybody who commented on the first video and tried to ingrain all the valuable information from it. Now, in today's video, I will teach you the first 2-minute commandments where we're going to cover exactly how you can dominate the first 2 minutes of every conversation. So after this, you'll never have any awkwardness about what do I say, how do I start, how do I get that vibe going, etc. After watching this full video, all your problems with the approach will be gone. So, are you ready? Let me hear you say yes. Show me you really want this. Say yes. Alright, so the first 2 minutes. The deadliest mistake most guys make in the first 2 minutes is put too much pressure on the girl. So they put too much pressure on her, meaning they expect her to carry the conversation in the first 2 minutes. Now, first of all, let me just say this. This doesn't apply to dating apps like Tinder, Bumble, or the biggest dating app in the world today, which is, that's right, Instagram. Secretly, most people don't realize that, but Instagram is by far the biggest dating app in the world. It is, between me and you, a gold mine. Alright, so most guys put too much pressure on her in the first 2 minutes. What I mean by that is, hey, what's your name? They'll introduce themselves and they'll go, tell me about yourself. What's your story? Big questions like that at the beginning is just too much for her. As she doesn't know you, she doesn't know your value. Now, if somebody like George Clooney asked her this, then she may be able to say this, but even then, she wouldn't totally feel comfortable doing it. She would feel pressured, because it's like, why is this person that I don't know want me to get personal with them? They want me to share this personal stuff and get all vulnerable so early, even though they haven't got involved too much. They haven't shared anything personal. All this creates pressure on her, and even though social norms says she should be polite, but inside of her she's thinking, I don't want to fucking tell this person my story, or where I am from, or all this stuff right away. What if they're crazy, or what if they're cynical? And if you understand basic human psychology, then people want to move away from pain more than they want to move towards pleasure. Means even if you promise her some sort of pleasure, she would still want to move away from you just to make sure she doesn't get hurt. And don't get confused on this. Pressure is pain. And the need to move away from pain or pressure is far much more greater for her than to move towards pleasure. So if she's feeling even a little bit of pressure, she's not going to want to stay there. Does that make sense? Are you following this? Alright, good. So we know we must not create that pressure, because then she will try to run away from it. Now the second big mistake that guys make in the first 2 minutes is they telegraph too much interest before she has telegraphed interest herself. And if you have watched any YouTube videos by those rookies, all they will teach is cold approach, go hard, burn it down, etc. Be direct, say what you feel immediately, but that's not good. That works only on some girls, and that too only in a certain specific window. And most girls will never truly respond to that sort of behavior, and the reason to that is that it creates so much pressure at the beginning. And again, people move away from pressure. So she sees that if you're telegraphing interest before her, then she will think that you're needy, low status, or insanely horny. All this cold approach type of thing signals undesirability in a man and makes him low status. And she's not going to want to be with someone like that. And that's why almost every YouTube video out there is so wrong. Because it's a basic rule of game that you don't show her your interest until she does. Even Robert Greene, the famous writer on women and seduction, says the same things in his book. That you subtly imply interest or let her fully show those signs of interest before you also reciprocate it. If you go first, then it creates pressure and a whole bunch of other problems that you probably won't want to deal with. So, after talking so much about the problems, what's the solution? It's disclosure. Let me say it again so you can properly hear it. It's disclosure. You may even want to tattoo it while you still can. Disclosure is disarming. When we disclose, then any pressure that is left is now disarmed. All her guards in her brain, and all her feelings of guard and fear of whatever negative feelings she may be feeling, they disappear. They go away. Imagine that at her heart, at her brain, and at her vagina, there's a bouncer, and he's standing outside all of them, and his guard is up, and he's always looking for guys who's trying to get in, and he's putting up the guards. Well, when you start sharing personal, transparent stuff about yourself, he puts it to sleep. He believes that this person is no threat, and he just leaves. And now the heart is open, the brain is open, and the pussy is open, okay? Disclosure is disarming to the guards of her brain, her heart, and her pussy. So we want to disclose first. This is the secret. This is the key. This is what we do in the first 2 minutes. Alright, this is where you're transparent. And when you're transparent, you create trust. You're trustworthy, and that trustworthy is what makes the guard go down. Right? And because of this, because you're going first and you're disclosing personal information with her and you're disclosing transparent stuff about yourself right at the very beginning, it compels and it inspires her to meet you there halfway. So you go first disclosing yourself, and then guess what happens right after that? That's right, Tiger. She starts to invest and disclose stuff about her, right? And because you're not putting pressure on her like, tell me your story, what kind of person are you, etc., so she'll be more open. As you're just having fun, loving yourself, and because you're talking about so many different things, it makes it easy for her to contribute and participate. Listen, don't get confused. A lot of girls which you thought didn't like you in the past or weren't really receptive when you talked to them, it wasn't necessarily that they didn't like you or they weren't interested. It may be just that she didn't know what to say, or maybe she wasn't just receptive. So while approaching, we want to make sure that we remove as many obstacles as we can for her to contribute and participate in the conversation. And by you disclosing, as you'll see in a second, it makes it very low pressure and very, very free-flowing for her. And if you've read the famous book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends, even though it's a good book and it has helped many people, but one advice that he particularly gives is, be interested to be interesting. Be interested. Ask all the questions up front, etc. Well, here's the problem. If you want to make friends, do that. But if you want to fuck a girl, don't do that. It won't work. Remember what I said about telegraphing interest. If you show it before her, it's over. If you use Carnegie's formula over a girl, she'll think that you're coming on too strong. She'll be overwhelmed. So even though there's a lot of good advice in that book, but we don't want to telegraph interest, alright? Because trust me, there's so many guys who are super interested in her and approach her in the same way. But you want to stand out, don't you? That's why you are a badass newsletter member and watching this video series. Isn't this about standing out and winning and attracting hot women? You're damn right it is. And I won't be putting so much time and effort for you if we were not on the same page about that, right? So we are gonna forget about Dale Carnegie for some time now, and we are gonna disclose. We are gonna be transparent. We're gonna make it easy for her to participate and contribute. Now, one note I have to share is, when you're sharing stuff about yourself at the very start, you were just talking about a lot of I statements. I do this, I do that, etc. Some guys would even think that. I have a Corvette, so let's disclose about the Corvette. No, do not do that. Any attempts to impress the girl by talking about the things that you have or own, she will see right through it, and all she'll see is a low-status, insecure rich guy. And the only reason he's trying to impress her is because he saw her as better than he is, and so he needed to do and acquire all these things so she will see him on her level. And the whole point of trying to impress her is because he actually sees himself beneath her level. So don't disclose such stuff. Instead, you just want to disclose fun and playful stuff. Keep it light, keep it fun. If you're playful, you're interesting. She'll be attracted to you, right? So this is a true story about me. A few years ago, I went out to this dinner with some friends. So I ordered a salad, and on the salad there were a bunch of different vegetables. There was spinach and greens and cucumbers and tomatoes and red peppers. And I am excited. I am ready to eat the salad. I am putting dressing on it, and I am ready to eat it. Now, let me tell you, I love cherry tomatoes. And so I go to bite this. I put it in my mouth and I penetrate through the tomato. My teeth pierce it, and I don't taste the tomato. In fact, my entire mouth is now filled with the taste of what I think is olive. And I fucking hate olives. And it was like disgusting. I like spit out the thing, I drop my fork, I bow my head in depression. Okay, let me tell you, it was terrible. It was truly, truly terrible. I have to admit that an olive in the salad was a cherry tomato. Now, right after this meal, we went off to a bar and I talked to a girl and she asked me, "How are you? What's going on?" and all those things. And I said, "I am terrible." I was like smirking at the same time, and she was like, "Why are you terrible?" I was like, "I don't even want to talk about it." And she's hitting me on the arm and asking me to tell her, "What is it? What happened?" And then I told her my cherry tomato story. And she starts cracking up. She got very interested at this point, and she just couldn't hold her laughter. And then she started sharing personal stories about her and foods and olives, and it was very easy for her to contribute and participate because it's a very personal yet shareable story which builds instant connection. It could happen with anyone. Instead of saying, "I just got off the phone with Elon Musk and we were just sharing the nature of America and what we thought we could do to help solve the borders." It's so unrelatable. But the tomato story is so easy and relatable for her to contribute and participate. And that's what we need to do for her to take part in these things. We want to be disclosing stories to her that are super relatable and ones that would really build that commonality between the two. And don't make up stories about yourselves. It looks very unauthentic, and authenticity is the most magnetic thing you have. Instead, one thing you can do is you can change the time of when a story took place, as sometimes, even when I'm feeling off and I don't know what to say or do, then I'll just start off with my cherry tomato story. So when she will ask, "How are you?" I will say "not fine," and I'll act like the dinner had just happened, and even though it would have happened a year ago. So change the times of when your stories have happened if you want, but don't change the stories. Your stories are unique because that's only happened to you, and that's what will make you interesting. So, the first 2 minutes. This is when you share recency related things about you and how you feel about them. As recency is a very powerful intrigue tool. When something just happened is a lot more interesting than something that happened 5 years ago. That's why I told you to change times if you want. It's just that the things that are more recent are more relatable and more interesting to human beings. And don't give data information. Example, I ate a salad. I hated it because I ate an olive which I don't like. I paid for the dinner. I left. Like, all that is so data things, and it's so fucking boring. Rather than data, share how you feel about it and share the process. Like when I'm sharing that tomato story, I'm so excited. I do this, I do that, etc. It's all about feelings and connections that girls connect with. They don't care about facts. They don't care about data. They want to feel the emotions. They want to experience what you are experiencing. So how can you describe an experience in a way so that the other person can also get a vivid picture of what you are experiencing, what you are feeling in that moment? That's how you bring them into it. That's what my badasses do. Also, keep it brief. You don't want to go like 2 minutes straight without giving her any opportunity to speak at all. Then you're way over investing early on and she will be like, "This guy is trying too hard." So keep it brief and say stuff that impresses you. Now, suppose after sharing your story, she also starts to open up and share something. What should you do? First of all, allow her space to invest, and if she is still hesitating, then I'll challenge her by saying, "You don't love olives, because if you did, then you would tell me your favorite story or incident with olives." And then you can respond in one of 3 ways. 1. Share another relatable story. 2. Disqualify. 3. Do a warm read. So, for example, if she said that she loves olives, then I would first let her invest some more, and then I would share another story with her. Or probably disqualify her by saying, I thought you were pretty cool, but after hearing this, we will never be together. Or, I would probe her. For example, I will say something like, interesting. When I first met you, I thought this was another typical girl, but I can see now based on your views about olives you are different. So tell me, do you think there's something different about you? Have you always felt that you're not like the other girls? So in this way, you can warm read and get her to invest more. Now, one final thing to wrap up this amazingly value-filled bonus training for you is to let you know that becoming a natural at this will take time. You must take action on it and give it time for you to finally be able to use it whenever you want, however you want. Now, you know what to do during an approach. I broke this down one by one for you, and I even let you inside a girl's brain so you will fully understand what she thinks when you approach. So, in the next and final video of this series, we will discuss probably the most important problem that so many of you have and how you can deal with it easily. That is, how to arouse a woman so that she wants to have sex with you. How you can talk to her in such a way that the conversation gets sexual without her being uncomfortable. It's one thing to just approach a woman and build a connection with her, but leading it to sex is a whole another thing. How should you make a proper plan so she just can't reject? All that and much more will be discussed in the next video. And after this final video, she will literally be begging you to fuck her and do her however you want. Now, in closing, let me know what you thought of the first 2 minutes. And what more can I help you with? I am finalizing a full course for you to really go deep into female attraction. So if you want anything covered, just let me know. I will make sure that I give you all you need to become a badass who gets any girl he wants. That's it for today. Peace. Ariel.